Alright, so what we did is got the new exhaust in. This is the Lifan KPR200. Now this is the KPMoto exhaust, the same exhaust that they run on the overseas racing bike, because they do have a smaller class CC racing division. And if you look, this is 99% identical to what they use over there. So how did I get the exhaust off? Because you're going to want to know, you don't have to take the fairing off. You'll notice that I put duct tape down here. You can use any tape. And I used a really off-color tape to show you, because there is one little nut down here that you have to get to. That's the one that if you don't put something on this, you're going to end up chewing that up, because the angle, you do lay flat on it. So you're going to want to put a piece of tape or something right there to keep it from marring it up. You can even see that it chewed in the tape a little bit, which just protects the plastic. On the back side here, it's one nut on the back. It takes a 13mm on the front, and then on this side it's actually larger. You'll notice this is a 15 with a washer that goes through on this back part, and this rubber piece doesn't come off. I don't know if it heated up or stays on there, or if it didn't want to come off. Either way, I'm okay that it stayed in place. Don't take off this center bolt just yet. You can take off this back piece and it's going to hang on that hanger down there. The factory exhaust, which is this one, has got some heft to it, and 90% of the weight is back here in the muffler. Okay, that's a heavy piece. Also notice on your muffler, if you look, it actually has your VIN number on the factory muffler, which is kind of crazy. I've never seen anything like that. Of course, I didn't really pay too much attention to my other motorcycles when I pulled the exhaust off. Now, on this one, and yes, I am sweaty because it's Texas heat out here, so it is hot. By the way, talking about heat, make sure that the motor is cooled down, because you do not want to work on any engine, especially this one, if it's hot, because you're going to be down here, you're going to burn yourself. Let your bike sit. So, what do we have? Hardest part, getting to the studs on the head to pull out the exhaust. It's easy. These right here, it's another 12mm. You just have to make sure that you have a pretty good extension to reach in, because on the Lifan KPR200, they actually have a nice size opening that's cut out to the underside of the radiator in front of the jug, that you can actually reach your hand into. You can get to the bolts cleanly. It's not an awkward angle. You just got to have something that can reach. You got to have good length on it. Notice that I've got a cobalt, or what I call a crescent wrench here. The crescent wrench and the screwdriver. Those are going to be the hardest two things that you're going to have to utilize in your arsenal, along with a flashlight. Because to get to the O2 sensor that is located on the front of it, you have to turn on your flashlight, lay it here. You might put a piece of cardboard or plastic or something to angle it. I had enough light, it was bright enough that when I laid it on there that it could shine up, and you got to look underneath. Have small hands. If you have big hands, you're probably going to have to take this fairing off, and that's a lot of nuts and bolts to undo, to get this piece off, to get that piece off, to get to the front. So find somebody with some small hands to reach up inside, and I'll show you on the one that came off of it. The O2 sensor here came off easily, because this plugs up all the way under here in the plug. As a matter of fact, my hand is on the plug right now, so it's only that far in. You put the screwdriver on the side, and there's a little orange piece. That may be orangish red. And the flathead screwdriver, smaller size like this one, this is a 3/16. Just put it in there and pop, and the clip comes out. You're not done yet. Like I said, make sure you leave this bolt down here on the underside clipped, because you can undo this, and I got to take these off, rubber bands, but right now they're going to hold it up there for me. Alright, so you could take that off, because it'll pop out. Leave this bottom one on the factory, because this is obviously aftermarket. Leave it on there, bolted, because then you're going to have to go through that beautiful opening they put at the front and take your crescent wrench and work it off. And yes, it's tedious. There are better tools. I just didn't happen to have what I needed. Then you can take the O2 sensor out and then fish the factory exhaust. 2 people are better than 1. I did it by myself, so it can be done. But 2 people are better than 1. If you have 2 people, the other person can hold the muffler on the factory that is, I'm not going to say very heavy, but it's significantly heavier than what I'm holding in my hand right now. Because you're going to have to do some leverage with the O2 sensor taken off and fish it down. Because you do have your radiator hoses right here that are, I'm not going to say in the way, but you got to delicately dance to get it down. Now, there's also a dance to get this in, because to actually thread the O2 sensor in is a lot easier when it's outside, because I can crush my washer and make sure that I got just enough pressure on there. You don't want to over tighten it and kill it, because this does heat up and that gets crazy. So you do it snug. I don't know the official force and torque or whatever. I've been doing this long enough that usually when you get that feeling that you've crushed it and you've got it good and solid, you're done. So I always like to have it on, because if I put it in there and start threading it, this can get turned around and flopped around. I wanted to be able to do it free and open. So how am I going to get this back into the bike? Another dance. So it can be done, but you have to actually make sure you don't mar up anything. Turn it into the bike. Turn it like this, and you look inside the fairing. There's all kinds of plastic stuff, and I can see that I'm fishing it up through, and this is the part where there's those 2 little radiator hoses. Now, you don't want to put a lot of pressure on them, but you just want to kind of slide it past them. And voila. I now have it out of the way. Now, I can fit it in the jug. I do have these rubber bands right here. I'm going to slide down. I use those rubber bands to kind of keep that fitting up there, so that I could work it through with the little dance, as I said. And feed it in right there. So that's fed in right there. Now what I need to do is make sure that I'm at the right angle and that I can get my nut back in here. Okay, so set this down for a second. Now it's going to hang just like that. Man, it's warm out here. Whew. Sweating a little bit. Oh, and I set that nut down there and I don't know where it went. Well, that's never good. The one piece I needed. Is it in my pockets? No. Well, that's embarrassing. I am actually missing the one piece I needed. I'm in the essential one right now. Oh man. I messed that all kinds of. I had it sitting out right there. I took the other one off. Look, it fell right there. Well, that was a fail, wasn't it? Alright, so this little bugger right here is what I was looking for. It actually fell. My toolkit right there, but I had the toolkit down there before, so that to help me prop up the exhaust. So again, I'm gonna line up that angle. Whoops. I'm gonna line up that angle to make sure that this piece fits into that, and I'm flush with the motor. I'm there. So I'm going to thread this back in. If I can get it. Oh man. I prefer to do it with a hand tool when I'm starting it. So that I don't cross thread or torque anything down the wrong way. A little bit cross-threaded there. I've got to see what kind of angle I got up there. Get the angle right down here. bugger to start, isn't it? Now I can get that one started now. There it is. Finally. Okay. Now this part up here in the jug, that's the part. So once I get that on there, it's hung. And that's kind of the same thing with taking it off. When putting it back on and taking it off, it's important to have that bottom nut in there so that you can balance it and hold it. Because that allows you to do all the work on the front and back side of the bike as far as lining everything up. So I want to line everything up here, make sure that I'm good. Now all I got to do is thread that over the hole. It's easy, and then I start on it. I'm gonna have to do the same thing I did to get that O2 sensor off. I'm gonna lay right here. Get my angle just right. Alright. It does feel like I'm gonna flip that. That is actually on. Now, go back. 2 of these. These are what, 12s? Yep. So I'll start those by hand. Slipped on good. Second one. Put them there, turn it backwards once. Make sure it's threaded good. Alright, so those aren't tightened up all the way. Not yet, because I want to go down here and again check to make sure my clearance is good on that. Because it's not exactly the same as the factory. And you want to leave some things a little bit loose because you do want to have to, or you do want to allow yourself some adjustments on things. So, I've got that loosely attached to the head up there. This would be the factory, I say factory, this would be the replacement exhaust. So, there we go. Alright. They even give you a tool for the hanger so that you can take this. It comes with 2 springs. Ooh, that's a lot of torque. See if it's easier the other way. Live and learn, right? And wow. Well, I tell you what, you don't have to worry about this spring coming off if you can't hardly get it on. Oh, wow. Man, that's 1. I'm going to leave it at 1 for right now because I do want to make sure that I can get some more adjustments on these things here. Notice this comes with a protective coating. Gotta pull that off. Now it's all shiny. Take the rubber. Put the rubber on the inside. Thread this over. And again, simple things are the ones that will get you, you think. They do. Here. Have an air conditioner all the time. Get out here and sweat. It's not so much the heat in Texas kills you. This is beautiful humidity. So we are good at humidity in Texas. Although riding this bike has been nice because you get some cool breeze. Alright, so got all that threaded on. If you look, the exhaust is kind of bulbous and this is kind of bulbous as well. So you just slip it on, put it all on the same side, and then it'll turn itself a little bit like that. Remember, on this one, you got a nut and a washer that go on the back. You got a pretty substantial bolt that goes on the front. So we'll feed all that through. Get that started. Now, I always try to hand tighten as much as I can. When I am starting a thread, because I'm paranoid. Alright, so I got that fairly tight. I'm confident that it's not going to bind up on me. That goes back on here because that goes on the front. Now, I do need my adapter. This on here. On the back side. I don't want to kill it, but I do want it tight. Okay, so it is fairly tight. I was watching it, make sure that it did crush on there a little bit. I might even go back and take just a hair off as far as the pressure on it. Just wanted to make sure that it got a good seal. That's pretty good right there, huh? Oh yeah, that's perfect. Alright, so don't kill that. Don't over tighten it, especially with a power tool, so you can hurt it. So now that I've done that, let's see if I can get this other spring on, right? Because it gave me some fits before. So if I hang it right there. Oh man. Okay. Secret to this? First of all, see if pulling up, I get more torque. Don't slide on me, Stan. Okay, so secret for that one was pulling up. That's on, it's solid. Let me go through and tighten the front. Have everything. I started it. Let's see what we got. What size was that one? That one was what? 12 on the front? this one I did need 2 extensions, which will change the torque on it. This extension, this 12. So as not to bore y'all, what I'll do is I'll tighten all that and check it. In the next video I'll run it and let you know how it does. Again, it's relatively simple. You always have a little bit of a pain doing things. It'd be much easier with 2 people. So I could have somebody hand me the tools or hold the bike or hold the exhaust. But I mean, I'll do what I can do. Tried to show you all the best I could. Putting the plug back in up there, it's going to be as easy as once I tighten everything down. I'm just going to reach down and grab the O2 sensor, which is right here, hanging off the side. It'll plug right in, right there. So, all in all, not too bad. I'll let you know how it runs and how it sounds. And yeah, that was not too painful. Again, I'm not a mechanic. Worked on cars, motorcycles, 4-wheelers before, but do the best I can, show you what I know. All right, thank you everybody, and I'll let you know how it sounds.